Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips here with Heather Marchant.
Hey, everyone. Happy Monday. That's when you'll be hearing this, hopefully.
It is a happy Monday for sure. It's almost Christmas, which is great, and we have a special show today.
We've been thinking about this show for almost 2 months. So little background story is Ron and I were conversing about small business, and I can't remember what the catalyst was, but we were talking about how most small businesses fail. And Ron shared some statistics with me, and I said, no way, like it's that bleak, that most of them don't make it. And he said, most of them don't make it to 10 years. And I stepped back for a minute and I said, wait a minute, didn't you start this company about 10 years ago? And you said, yeah, it's soon, like November, I don't know. And I said, oh, I thought it was January. And so I looked up on this, I had to look on the state's website to determine when our 10-year mark was for RP Capital. And it is Monday, December 13th, which we were both super pumped about and dreamed up some big stuff to sit and pause, I guess I should say, and think about what it's taken to get to 10 years as a business. There's, I'm sure, a lot of business owners listening, or maybe you work for a small business, and kind of taking a minute to think about it has been really cool for me. I don't know about you, Ron, but I've taken quite a bit of time planning and figuring out what we want to do to celebrate, and it's caused a lot of thought, a lot of interesting introspection, I should say. So,
yeah, I mean, I haven't been as involved in that part of it, but it has been fun as a team. We've been doing these Marco Polos where we're doing this. I don't know. We're reminiscing, I guess, about all of the things that happened, and it's been a lot of fun. Everybody guessing what they thought has happened, and things like that. Especially the new people. That's even more fun. Who have zero idea what it was like back in the day. But yeah, it's been kind of cool to reflect on the fact that we actually did make it a decade, and crazier than that I've been doing this for 2 decades, and I don't even feel that old.
Yeah.
But this company, after my partnership, divorce, we've been up and running for 10 years, which doesn't even seem possible.
Yeah. I think it's taken me back as well, because I started working with you at the old brokerage, and we've worked together for 15 years, and I sat in your office and I know, and took tasks, like, hey, what can I do for you today? What do you need to get done? And so it's crazy to think how long we've known each other, because I agree, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. But then when you took a leap and started your own thing, I visited with you about it all those years ago, and I asked you about how you're feeling about it and nervousness or whatever, because it was a pretty big leap, to go and start and do your own thing. And I remembered one takeaway from that conversation that I don't know if you remember. I said, how does your wife feel about it? Do you remember what you said?
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I don't
remember exactly either, but the gist.
I can speculate that she was pushing me to do it.
Yeah.
I think, her and even my kids and the rest of my family, they were all like cheerleading.
Yeah, I think that makes a really big difference. You didn't have, I have, friends whose husbands are entrepreneurs, and it's terrifying for them, right? They're like, oh man, don't start this, like security, and let's not do something crazy. And so I think having that support for you back in the day, and everyone all in your corner is amazing. I don't know that happens all the time, with
I think it's that is, I'm a very blessed guy to have that kind of support. I mean, it's incredible. And it is only because of that, I think that it worked. Because it was scary. It was scary for me. I think a lot of people think that, it's no big deal, but it was a big deal. I think the other thing is most people don't realize that when we started this, nobody had any money. Nobody had any money. It was me and two other people, Angela and Brandon. Mm-hmm. And Angela was working for free because we didn't have any money. We couldn't pay her. And, Brandon's working on the come too, because he was only going to get paid if we sold anything. And we didn't have enough money to even do an event. We were literally broke. We did our first event on Marriott points. I got the room on Marriott points, and
I love that.
We convinced a guy to do the mailer, and we split the profits with him on the first deal. I mean, it was it's kind of like a creative real estate deal. We just did it to start a business instead. And that was actually kind of crazy. Actually,
did you have an office back at the very beginning, or did you guys all work from home?
Yeah, we put it on Brandon's credit card.
Huh.
I didn't even have a credit card because I didn't need one. There was no reason for me to have one. And then all of my money vanished all of my money vanished overnight. So I kind of needed one at that point, but then you can't get one. So we had a tiny little 1-room office we all were in, and it was kind of crazy.
So you made your first sale. I remember that I bought a property from you, and I think you told me that I was the first customer.
You were the first customer. Yeah. And it was kind of interesting because at the time you didn't work at that company. You were still at the other company,
which is funny.
And we're still my first customer, which is funny.
Yeah. Well, I was so overwhelmed by life at that time with my babies being so young that because I had twins that were still almost infants in my mind, but I was like, I can't even imagine trying to do anything right now. So I kind of was, personal preservation, I think.
Same thing on my end. I think that first sale allowed me to pay my mortgage one more month.
It's amazing.
We were all three so broke that, not so much Angela, but we were broke. And that one sale, it was so inexpensive, such a tiny amount of money. It was kind of insignificant, but it wasn't insignificant. It was huge.
Yeah.
Because we used some of that for, other stuff that we were doing. We had to have, we had to look legit. We needed logos, and we needed, all kinds of stuff. And we paid that with our first sale. So until we went to our event, that was the first and the only sale we made. So it was pretty critical.
And I think it's really interesting because I think people listen to the podcast, talk with you, because you do have a ton of knowledge and experience. You own a lot of rental properties, and it's all about perspective, right? Because as a small business owner, just 10 years ago, things looked very different, financially for you, your family. I know you guys you told me you lived off of food storage, like backup reserve food you had in your house, that it was, but
when the electricity goes off and crap. Not for when you have a partnership explosion or implosion, I guess.
I think that's really an important piece, though, because you were frugal, right? You were really careful with the money. One thing I know, a hurdle that a lot of small businesses have, is financing. And you very rarely, in the whole time I've worked with you, had any kind of loan against the business. It's mostly been self-funded from business coming in, and then you move forward and spend that, reinvest that money into the business, which I think is really a difference maker for small businesses.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's place for financing. I think there's
Yeah.
place for equity, and I think there's place for raising funds and things like that. We just I guess we didn't when we needed it. There's no way we could get it. I mean, there's nobody who was going to give us any money. We had no accounts receivable. We had nothing, right? So we didn't really even have a company. So we weren't going to get money then. And by the time the money started rolling in, well, we were doing pretty well. So all we had to do was, pay expenses and live a little bit frugally for a few months. I mean, our first year we did $1 million in revenue, and so we did okay. And then we continued to increase every year. So yeah, we just never needed it. And I think we could have used some money to grow probably a little quicker, things like that. But I just didn't like it because it's overhead that I don't need to pay.
Yeah.
If I don't need the money, I don't want to go get it. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's something that I've noticed that helps with, security. I know when we hit this last pandemic, I don't know who you said you spoke with, but you spoke with someone who's in the know that said most businesses, even large businesses, can't make it more than 3 months. Like they don't have enough cash flow coming into the business to sustain the business. So a lot of those, government money. But when you and I talked, we sat down and made a game plan to make it 6 months to a year, just in case things were really messy. Yep. And I think that planning for your business and watching, one thing I've noticed in you too is that you see a market shift or something different in the space, right? It doesn't even have to be real estate related, but as a small business, watching the industry, watching things pivot and making adjustments. You've been really effective at that and making sure that everything is, that we're ahead of the game, I guess I should just say. I'm not sure the best way to articulate that.
I think if we were going to spend money, it was certainly going to be about moving ahead of the game instead of, and that's the other thing about not being levered out so bad. Like a lot of companies get levered out so bad and they've spent the money on things that don't allow them to pivot and actually kind of anchor them down. And then when it's time to pivot, there's no more money to pivot. And that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen you do it because to me, it's a gift that you have with the creativity that we work really well together because I use my other side of my brain a lot. But when I look at you, and it's like foreign to me, the way you can be creative and pivot and stuff. But I've seen it with loans and lending. And when the industry changes, you're creative about it in order to get ahead. I've seen it obviously in 2008, you were really good at pivoting and we sold developed lots, land when people couldn't get financing for rental properties, just not being willing to say, oh, well, I'm a victim of circumstance or victim of the market. You've never had that mentality that I've ever observed. So
no, I mean, I truly believe, and when I say that you can make money in any real estate market, I truly believe that you absolutely can. You just have to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And then just shift. You just need to shift. And that's going to happen again. I don't know when, but it's going to happen again. And so you just have to be prepared to be able to make a shift. And yes, you're right. We've managed to make that happen the whole time. So,
yeah. It's true. But you also do, we're going to do probably a whole podcast on this, I think, but some year-end planning. You spend a lot of time reflecting and planning for the future. You watch trends and you want to make a plan. So I feel like in one of the reasons small businesses fail is that business planning component. And I know early on you brought in a consultant. I don't know how many years into the company you brought in a consultant, but you had a consultant come in to help you establish core values and a game plan of how to run the business more effectively. Has that had an impact?
Yeah. That was about 4 years in actually, and I wish I had done it sooner. And I think in about year 2, I had a rude awakening with taxes. That was ugly, and then, in year 4, I had another rude awakening with just people. Just it felt like we had the right, well, not felt, it looked like on paper that we had the right people, but it felt like we didn't. And, we kept just, and, the other thing too is, I think, forward looking, one of the mistakes I think business owners make, that I made for sure, was asking a CPA questions about the future. And CPAs don't do that. CFOs do that. And I didn't even know the difference at the time. So, understanding the right people to ask the questions when you get stuck is critical. And I think the real game changer for me was understanding that that I needed help, and B, that it was okay to go out and actually get it. That somehow it didn't make me less, or my company less, or anything like that, to go out there and admit to other people, other business owners, that I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have a problem with people and I can't understand why. Like some people fit unbelievably well, and other people on paper look great, and the whole thing just didn't feel right. And so when I hired that consultant, it was so clear afterwards why. And he came recommended by a bunch of other people who I had told the same thing, right? Like, I have this problem, and they're like, oh, you just need to call this guy and he'll help you out. And the more that I have networked with other business owners, the easier business has become. Just understanding, shortening the learning curve, because I can play off of other people's mistakes. Oh yeah, I've already been there. Just go do this and talk to this person and call these people over here. And I think a lot of business owners, because they're trying to, as my former partners, a prime example of this, Heather.
Yeah.
They wanted to hold everything so close. They wouldn't tell anybody anything about their business, and they didn't want to share it with anybody. And they didn't want to be in groups because they were scared somebody was going to steal their baby, which is so short-sighted, because, and when I first started, I was that way, because that's kind of, I kind of grew up learning that, right?
Yep.
And when I took a flyer joining a group, which completely altered my business and actually my personal and family life too, called Collective Genius. And I went there, and I literally was floored that people were sharing openly the way they were sharing, and that these business people all had the same problems that I did. And I was like, what? Yeah. Because being an entrepreneur is a lonely thing. Like, it's not like you can just go and share everything with your team. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Because the team needs to understand and believe that you know what you're doing, and that you're the rock, and that you're the leader, and we're going this way and hard charging. But even leaders they need help. They need coaches. They need people to help them along the way too. And if you don't go out and find that, you're doomed. I truly believe that. If I hadn't found a place, where a sounding board where I could go and tell people what was happening in my business and get help, I probably would have been a statistic, and we wouldn't be on a podcast talking about this right now. You'd be off working somewhere else, and I'd probably have a job doing something. Who knows?
Yeah, I know that you've told me that the mastermind with other business owners was really helpful for you, but that makes sense though. I remember just a couple weeks ago, you were out. I can't remember why. You just said, oh, it was a super busy week, and you said, I'm just not going to have any time this week. And I was making decisions on my own. I don't know if you remember. I called you and I said, yeah, I think lonely is the way that it felt, because I was just like making decisions, determining what was going to happen, who was going to do what, without talking to you about it. And I didn't realize I don't necessarily always need to hear what you want to say, but it's talking to somebody else about it is really helpful, So,
yep. And imagine an actual crisis that you're in, and you've got nobody to talk to about it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
where do you take that? Where you can actually get some help? You literally can't take something like that to your team. They're not even going to understand what you're talking about. Because it's a unique thing to be a business owner. And so, and not necessarily unique in a way that it's better than anybody else. It's just unique.
Different.
There's a unique weight that comes with it. And you gotta, the only people that really truly understand it are people who have felt the same weight. There isn't any other way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is really interesting. I think that's also kind of establishing some ways and things you've done to be able to make it to 10 years. And I would say for sure that's probably got to be one of the top 5 is having that mastermind sounding board coming back. I would almost dread those when when you would come back, because you would have so many ideas of things that we could do to be better. And I am by nature a doer. And so it was like, all right, get on my to-do list. Like, here we go, got to integrate all of these ideas. And so I think that one thing I've seen you do is you've surrounded yourself with people from day one that have the skills that you, maybe it's not necessarily that you don't have, but that you have done a great job of maximizing your superpowers, is what we call it, right? And having other people around you with the superpowers that maybe you don't have or don't have time to utilize, right? So
yeah, I like to call it maximizing everybody's superpowers.
Yeah.
Because every single person on our team has their own unique superpower.
Yeah.
And if we get them in the right seat where their superpower can shine, not only is it good for the team, it's good for the individual, and it's good for growth for them and for the company.
Yeah, I agree. Marketing has been one thing that you've found a way to be really successful without spending a huge amount of money. I mean, still a good amount of the budget goes toward marketing. But what do you think you've done differently than maybe other small businesses that has helped you on the marketing side to make it to 10 years?
Well, I guess I got to cheat a little bit because, I had already crafted a message that I knew worked. So, when I started, this company, I already knew that the message worked. I already knew that there was a need. It was just about delivering it in a way that we could get to more people. And that's one of the reasons why I had such a problem in the other company, is that, I had no life. I was literally on the road all the time. And the other thing too, to your point, we spent a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is not inexpensive to put on an event.
Exactly.
We were spending, $20,000-$30,000 on a mailer. And then, I don't know, probably $10,000-$15,000 in travel expenses and venue expenses, food, and, everything that went along with that. It's like a traveling circus, and you have to book those so far out in advance so that you have them on the schedule. And we were doing them almost weekly, three weeks a month. We were doing those. So it's $150,000 easily. Yeah. And then you have to book those 3 months out so that you can get your mailers lined up and everything else. So, you're $750,000 into marketing, and, most of the companies that do that sell a product at the event that they can run a credit card. And we didn't. We sold real estate. You sell real estate, you don't get paid for like 60 days. Yeah. If you're lucky. And that's if it's not new construction, which sometimes is out 4 to 6 months. So you get this massive runway of expense before you get anything back. And, I'm not the quickest study in the world, but I know that $1 today is different than $1 in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, we got to be able to shorten this down. Like we have to spend less money, and we have to shorten the cycle somehow. Mm-hmm. And my idea was to take it online, which I was told emphatically would not work. Nobody's going to, it's not going to be the same as when it's live, which is true. That's true. It's not the same as when it's live.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be, because we can reach so many more people for so much less money that it doesn't make any difference.
Exactly.
And we're still able to help more people spending far less money, which shortens all that cycle down. So,
and family time is better.
Yeah. And I don't have to travel. I travel to go make the company better. I don't travel to get business anymore. Yeah. I travel to go learn skills that makes the company better. And that's been a difference maker for sure.
Yeah, I know you've told me lots of stories about not being there, kids' birthdays, things like that, that
Mm-hmm.
was really hard and probably still is to some degree, just in a different way that,
Yep.
that it was time missed with your family. So there definitely was a degree of hustle. But one thing I have learned from you is that the hustle is not always the best way. Just hustle,
Right.
another thing I want to highlight is your mind shift when you went to the Life and Air group. And I mean, you moved and left the headquarters here in Salt Lake, and you took you and your family across the whole United States. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, I guess. It's
I
kind of
mean,
hard
it's
to
just,
condense.
I learned something that was really important that most business owners, I think, also don't get. I think it comes from that hustle thing. So I guess starting at hustle, there's nothing wrong with hustle, right? There's nothing wrong with working hard. There's nothing wrong with, as a matter of fact, you have to do that when you start a business. I mean, it's
Yeah.
impossible to start a business and not work. It's just not possible to do that. But it's a season.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a badge of honor that you wear, which, man, way too many business owners wear this badge. It's that I outwork everybody all the time,
Mm-hmm.
24/7, 365, go, go, go. And I did that for 7 years, 8 if you count the first year we started up, because I kind of had to do it all over again. But I did that for 7 years, and at the end of 7 years, I had nothing to show for it. But financially, I had nothing to
Yeah.
show for it.
Yeah.
And I just decided I wasn't going to do that again. And when I heard about 2 years later, when I heard this whole life and air concept, which means you plan your life and then make your business conform to your life, that clicked so hard for me, because I was like, man, if you can actually do that, why would anyone not do that?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a little bit easier said than done, but it can be done. I've seen it happen, countless times. And it all starts with the same thing that a business starts with. It starts with a plan. So plan your personal life, plan your family life, plan your spiritual life, plan the things that are important, and then wrap your business around that. And we've had Sean on the podcast talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a shift for me. And because I did all of that stuff, when we needed to move, we were able to move.
Yeah.
And it was a huge deal. It was a really good move for my family. And I'm grateful that I had so many people leading up to that who kind of set the stage for me to have the ability to do that. And it was because I listened to people that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And because I had an unbelievable team. Like I felt comfortable leaving, which, I mean, I think a lot of people would think is absolutely insane. This is pre-COVID, right? This is 4 years ago. I left when no one would suggest that was a good thing, to just leave your team and go across the country. But I felt really confident that everybody there knew what they were doing and were fully capable. And that is also proven to be true. We just have an incredible team. And because of that, we're all able to do that. I feel we're all able to do that. We're all able to unplug when we need to and re-engage. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think that was a great summary. I think that, the takeaway for me when I told I told you, sorry, that I wanted to do this podcast, I thought, man, so what's been the difference maker, right? What has set us aside? You've changed up marketing over the years. You started as Wealth Accelerator System, right? That was your first business.
Investment property coach, actually.
Oh, it was investment property coach first.
Then we changed to Wealth Accelerator System because the coach thing was confusing people. Of course, it's confusing. We weren't coaches. I don't even know why the hell I came up with that name. And then Wealth Accelerator System, which was confusing too, because it's a system. That's not a company. Yeah. So, I mean, we made several mistakes like that. And so what's the difference maker? I mean, people. We just have phenomenal people.
I
And
agree.
I've met phenomenal people. I mean, they don't work on our team, but very, very good people who can help. So on both sides, both on the team side and, I think because of the incredible people on our team, Heather, we have attracted some of the best clients,
That's
and
true.
they've stayed loyal and continued to buy.
Yeah.
And all of that combined, it's all people.
Yeah.
It has nothing really to do with marketing spend. It doesn't have anything to do with, all that stuff we pivoted around and shifted all over the place, and we've changed our name 3 or 4 times. And, I think we finally got one that's pretty decent, but
yeah.
who knows? I mean, who knows if it's any good, but in spite of all of that, we have really, really good people. And that's the difference maker.
Yeah. I think working for you, a couple of things that I felt like have been a difference maker in you attracting good people have been that you're confident. You're a very confident person. In fact, that's one of the first things I noticed about you. But you're also not afraid to be yourself and to say you don't know something, right? Like, what do you think? That has been a question in our meetings from, very early stages. It's someone that's brand new in the company. It's, well, what do you think? You're sitting in that seat. You have a different perspective. Like, I think that is something that sets you apart. Even though you're confident in what you're doing, you're also not afraid to say you don't know something, which I think it endears people to you, because as a staff and as a team, no one here feels like they work for like a drill sergeant, right? Like a business owner that's just like, get your stuff done. Never that way, even though we all know to get our stuff done. I don't know how to explain that and be articulate about it, but I think that it's been a difference maker as a team, for sure, that you're not this heavy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know either. I know that I've had people ask me like, why is, how did you get this incredible team? And I'm just like, well, I don't know. I just met really good people, and, for whatever reason, they decided to stay and, and build this cool company with me. But, yeah, I know I don't know everything. I learned that pretty early on, and I'm good at certain things and I'm not good at other things. And I've also learned too, I think, because when I was in sales and when I was in other positions, I had really good ideas, and in some companies people listened, and some companies people didn't listen. And the ones that didn't listen, they didn't seem to really change or do anything well. And the ones that did listen to the people who were actually engaged in the work, they seem to do better.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as you grow, like you become disconnected from the functions that are happening on a day-to-day basis, because there's other people maybe 2 or 3 levels deep doing those things. And if you don't listen to the people who are having problems down there and they're bringing the problems, I think that's another thing, is that we've bred a community where we want bring the problems as faster the better, bring them up the food chain so that we can solve them. And if people are bringing you problems and you just like keep batting them back down and not listening to anything or trying to create, I do remember like one time we made a change at the executive level. We made a change. It was like 2 days later, man, it was like pandemonium in the company. Like what, like, and I for a minute, I couldn't understand what was happening. It didn't seem like it was that significant. I don't even remember what it was. But like it affected the chain reaction effect of what we changed made people's lives miserable. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, well, let's just undo that. That was stupid. And then we kind of brought everybody up. We're like, okay, well, what should we have done? Because this is what we're trying to fix. Like, how should we have done it? And they're like, yeah, because you didn't think about how that affected this over here. And that didn't, how that affected this piece over here. And the cool thing is that we had a culture where those people could say, hey, this sucks. And not only does it suck here, but this is causing a chain reaction suckage all the way through the company. And I think a lot of companies don't even get the feedback. People just are pissed and then they quit.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's so true. We don't want anybody to quit. We want everybody to be, crazy happy and enjoy what they do. And we don't want to make decisions at an executive level that make everybody's life hell. We want the exact opposite. And so a lot of times it's best to just invite them into and hear, what is it that's their problems, and what is it about what you're trying to fix, is kind of effect is it going to have on them, and then weigh those out before you make some kind of a change.
That is so significant that most other companies, they don't do that, or you're afraid to bring up a problem, right? Because maybe they're going to think you're the problem or whatever. So I think, so many takeaways from this today for me. But things that I've seen, and foundational things, but also lots of small things that have made a really big impact. But today, when this podcast release, it will be the 10-year anniversary of RP Capital as a company, which is so fun. We are all getting together. Ron's flying out to this frozen tundra, which is his favorite.
Only because I love you guys. It's the only reason.
But we're taking a moment to pause, to celebrate, and to reflect, and to obviously project forward what we want to do. The next 10 years and what that's going to look like. And it's really exciting, but also really powerful to sit and think of the foundational things that have got you to this point. So I'm glad you let me pick your brain on this today, and you were an open book about it, because I think that's really,
it was fun. And it's been a fun 10 years, kind of crazy. It's been a crazy 10 years, but it's been a lot of fun. Here's to the next 10 as we continue to grow this thing and pivot and shift and have fun creating new ways that we can serve our clients and all that good stuff. It's a lot of fun. So those of you out there who are thinking about starting a business, I encourage you to do it. It's a lot. It's hard work. It's crazy demanding. And sometimes you'll wonder what in the hell you were thinking, but overall it's really fun.
And I think that the masterclass, it's interesting that in January, just a few weeks after our 10-year anniversary, we're hosting a masterclass for clients wanting to take it to the next level, kind of your advanced course. So I thought that was interesting how that timing worked out, that we've been planning how to take it to the next level at this stage. We've never done a class like this before. It's always been a foundational class. And so interestingly enough, they're not related to each other at all, but I think that forward projection for 2022 for you individually, join our masterclass if you're in that position to move on from the beginner real estate investment and be able to take your game to the next level too. So please join us.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you all there. And thank you for being a part of our 10 years. You guys are all awesome. Everybody that listens. Right. Yeah. Keep the show ideas coming. We want to keep doing this too. This has been a lot of fun for us as well. So
that's right.
As always, till next week, everybody, get out there and make something happen. Merry Christmas too.
Yeah, it's coming. Thanks, guys.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.